Hello, my name is Michael Dennis. This is the Michael Dennis Show. I'm everyone's favorite Cincinnati sports skeptic, UCF grad, and Sopranos superfan. It's been a few weeks since I've done a post. I feel really bad about that. I kind of slacked off. But last week was the 4th. Had a really busy week, a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to get some reps today. I'm going to just do a little post here. I want to do a little bit of story time. I don't really have much to talk about with the Reds. It's the week of the All Star game. The Bengals, they have another month or so, 3 weeks until training camp. There's nothing going on there. No Joe Burrow contract talks. It's a quiet week. It's a quiet week. So I was struggling a little bit to come up with something to chat about today, but I figured I'd just tell a little story um, and go from there. So this week, one of my gigs, I work in an office, in an undisclosed office building here in Cincinnati for a few days a week for one of my gigs. And I went back there on Tuesday. And this had been the first time in 2 consecutive weeks, 2 solid weeks, that I'd been into the office. And when I was last into the office the week before the 4th, I had gotten a really good deli sandwich at this place downtown. It was like a Manhattan Italian. And I remember I thought I had left the office with it on that Wednesday afternoon. And when I got home, it wasn't in the car, it wasn't in the trunk. And my first thought was, I bet I left it on top of the roof of the car. Like I had all my stuff in my hands and I went out to the car in the garage. I must have put it on top, threw my bag with my laptop and everything in the back seat. And then I just drove off and left that Italian sandwich sitting on the roof, which it must have flown off. And now some poor maintenance guy is having to clean up my hot Italian sandwich somewhere off the floor of that garage building. But that's where I assumed my sandwich had went. So I returned to work on Tuesday and I go into my little cubicle. And as I turn in to my cubicle, sitting right there, excuse me, sitting right there on my desktop is my styrofoam box containing my hot Italian sandwich. Pardon me. So there it is. I walk right in. My Italian sandwich is sitting right there. It has been sitting out on my desktop for 2 solid weeks, which is insane in itself. How no one noticed, I will never know. No one noticed this rotting corpse sitting on my desk for the last 2 calendar weeks. That's pretty wild to me. So I go over and I open it up and I'll post a photo here. And inside, it is just all rotted. It is green. It is blue. It has hair on it. It was really funny. So it reminded me a lot of the sandwich that Homer eats in Selma's Choice that makes him so sick that he can't go to Duff Gardens.
Homer, I found this behind the radiator. I really think you should throw it away.
Suggestion noted.
It was just like that. I had a moment of, Marge, I'd like to be left alone with the sandwich now. But I open it up, I see that it's now all blue and gray and weird. And I take a few pictures and I take it and throw it away. But then as the day went on, I kind of kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about my rotted sandwich and how the rotted sandwich is just a placeholder and a metaphor for 40-hour-a-week office life, that you just sit there at your desk rotting unnoticed until you're discarded. I thought that was a pretty apt metaphor for my office gig, my 2-day-a-week office gig. So aside from that, I went to Taylor Swift with my wife, which was a lot of fun. I like Taylor. I don't have anything against Taylor. She's gorgeous, and to see her in person, and especially to have really good seats like we did, and you get up close and see her in all her glory. It's pretty good. It's pretty great. It's pretty wild. She puts on a really great show. My favorite part of it is my favorite part of doing anything is just walking around and people watching. And the people watching for Taylor Swift was A+. The group that stood out to me the most, because this was the Friday before the 4th of July here in Cincinnati, and it had been relatively cool summer so far up until about that week. But it was like 95 degrees that night of Taylor Swift, and the wind was not blowing at all. There was nothing moving, especially inside of that stadium. So it was just hot and sticky and stuffy. And what was great was my favorite group of people that I kept seeing, they were all girls, of course, were the ones wearing just I don't know how to describe it other than like full dance outfits. So it's got like the sleeves and the sparkles and the leggings and the pants, and you can tell it's thick. It's like the stuff that dancers wear on stage. There were a lot of girls who were dressed like Taylor was going to pick them out of the audience and ask them to get up on stage and be part of her dance troupe. So to see people wearing that stuff that's so uncomfortable, you know it's uncomfortable. You can see how thick it is. You can see the sleeves and just everything, and to be walking around in that all evening, all afternoon, that's dedication. That takes a lot to do. I cheers to your dedication, even though I do not understand it. We were seated down on the floor and really close to the stage, and right in front of us was kind of like this little walkway. People came down the stairs to the floor and then kind of go up to the stage right here on our right. So we just had a constant parade of people just coming down to take photos next to the stage, coming down to take photos of Taylor if she came that far out on the stage. So there was just a constant parade of people dressed up and looking wild and looking drunk and crazy. That was fantastic. I really liked that. The two groups that stood out to me that I was people watching were right in front of us. One group was a guy, and I'm just going to call him Manic Max. And I don't know if he was on anything or he was just a nervous little sweaty guy, but he could not stop kind of moving. He couldn't stop engaging. And he was with this blonde girl who she was kind of pretty. They were probably late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around there. And you could tell just by the look on her face that she did not care for this guy. Every one of her actions, every part of her body, her body language said she did not like this dude, and he was very anxious and eager to dance with her, to enjoy the show with her, to put a hand on a hip, and the vibe I got from this was one of she doesn't really know or like this guy, but he has Taylor Swift tickets, and he thought getting her into Taylor would get him into her. And to watch them kind of progress throughout the night and see her get more and more fed up with him, as he would try and put his hand around her or put a hand on her hip or something, and she would kind of rebuff him. And then he would go back to playing on his phone, like looking he was busy or something. Like who are you talking to? You're Taylor Swift. What do you even have to do? And I remember I saw at one point he goes to like put his arm around her or something, and she just whips around and just gives him this like, "Get your hands off of me." You can see her lip it from 10 feet away. Just this, and starts pushing him back, and he's just and Manic Max just like, okay, I'm fine. And he kind of slinks away, and he gets rebuffed so hard that he leaves and leaves the floor. I don't know where he went. He literally ran off crying. He got rebuffed so hard by Blondie. So he came back at some point later and just kind of like stood around and half-assed watched the show on his phone. So that was one great people watching dynamic that I got to see that night. The other was the group right next to them, and there was a group of four, and it was two guys, one really tall guy, one average height, and then two women. And one of the women from looked like she was with the smaller guy, the shorter guy, and then the other woman looked like that girl's mom. And what made this interesting was watching the dynamic of it. You could tell that if the shorter guy and the younger girl were a couple, and when I say younger, I'm talking they're like 25. If they were a couple, then it was very early in their relationship, because just like the other couple who was next to us with the blonde and Manic Max, that you could tell he wanted to get a little bit more handsy or be more with her um, during that show, and she just really wasn't having it or wasn't feeling it. But then there's mom there, who was just queen cockblock, who you could see her like physically get in between them. So what I don't understand is if this was an early relationship and this is early in dating or they hardly even know each other, why was mom there? How did mom end up getting brought along as a chaperone? I don't think she was there as a Taylor Swift fan, because during that entire show, I never once saw mom or daughter smile. They both had the same pissy look on their face for the entire show. I never once saw them dancing or clapping or enjoying something. There was always something they were doing to distract themselves, to be upset with something. And just like Manic Max and Blondie, um, the guy kept trying to get a little handsy, and he would get rebuffed, or mom would physically step in between them, and prevent any kind of interaction from happening. It was so interesting to see that kind of play out. And I don't know what happened to those 6 individuals at the end of the night. I don't know where they went. I hope they all enjoyed themselves. But that was really funny. That was really interesting watching those 6 people not enjoy any of the show, in spite of the fact they were in tickets you could probably get $5,000 for in the right market, or to the right people. Take that money and run, or don't take that particular girl. But I get it. It was fun. The only other thing that I've done, I'm happy Indy 5 has failed. That's really all I'm going to say about it. I can't imagine sitting down and paying money to go see Indy 5. I'm not saying I'll ever watch it when it's on Disney Plus. If someone had sat down and told me what The Last Jedi was before I ever saw The Last Jedi, I would not have seen The Last Jedi. I would have just been like, okay, fine, whatever, I get it, I'm done, and just walked away. I've never watched a single second of any Disney Plus show or Star Wars Disney Plus show. I've never seen a second of The Mandalorian. I've never watched a second of Obi-Wan. I've so I'm perfectly comfortable saying I will never watch a moment of Dial of Destiny and actually follow through on that. So I'm really happy that's failing. The people have just kind of had enough and have just stopped going and stopped supporting things that are terrible. I had a buddy of mine go see it, and he said it was Last Jedi bad. But then the Red Letter Media review talks about it was just not that interesting until the very end. I don't care. I'm just happy it's failing. I might go see Mission Impossible this weekend. That looks good, but I have kids, so probably not. Speaking of kids, uh, Bluey has returned, and if you have kids or you're aware you have little kids in your life of any kind, then this is a big deal. New episodes of Bluey have come out. I think I might do a little review episode with my wife, because there's a couple episodes in the new season that are really interesting. That I think Bluey's leveled up. I sound like I'm talking about Mad Men in season 4, or the Sopranos in season 2. Like, oh man, you thought that was good? Well, it just got even better. They added a whole nother layer. That's the boat I'm in now. But Bluey was fun. Bluey's good. Taylor was fun. Taylor was good. And my sandwich, my rotting sandwich at work that no one noticed. So my name is Michael Dennis. Instead of for my midlife crisis, instead of getting a Corvette or a Mistress, I'm trying to start a YouTube channel and make more content. We'll see which one costs me more money in the long run. But thank you so much. I'll try and do another video tomorrow just because I need the reps. I need something to do.